Thank the senator. The senior senator from Loudoun, Senator Black.
Thank you, Mr. President. Point of personal privilege.
Senator has the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, halfway through my tour in Vietnam, I fought on the ground as a forward air controller, and during a series of skirmishes between Charlie Company, 1st Marines, and another equivalent company on the communist side, we fought a week-long series of skirmishes, and one night we were pinned down, and I was in the mud, in the water, in a bomb crater, and tracers were flying overhead. And throughout the night, there were sounds coming from a thatched roof hut that was nearby. But I really didn't listen to them very much because I was concentrated on staying alive and shivering with the cold and distracted. And finally, after a long night of just ice-cold misery in the water, I began to warm up as the sun came out, and I got out of the shell crater. The firing had stopped, and I aimed my rifle forward, and I walked up to the hut to check out and see what was inside. And a woman emerged from the hut. She was about my age. We were both kids. She was a Vietnamese woman, and she walked up to me, and she had in her arms 2 dead children. And she just looked in my eyes. And I'll never forget looking back at her, feeling her pain and my own. Because I realized as I looked at her that I had been hearing these children, and I just hadn't paid attention to them. I'd been too busy watching the tracers fly over and hearing the shells and worrying about myself. And I guess it was at that time I decided that that would be the last time that I ever failed to hear the voices of the children. So when I hear all of the praise for Roe versus Wade, which has killed far more children than died in that very terrible and bloody war, I hear the voices of those children again. And I won't go into great detail, but I'll just mention just a very small portion of a bit of testimony by Dr. Tony Lavantino, an OBGYN who used to perform abortions. And he described, he said, once you have grabbed something inside during a dilation and evacuation, then you squeeze on the clamp to set the jaws and you pull hard, really hard. You feel something let go and it pops a fully formed leg about 4 to 5 inches long. You reach in again, and I'm not going to continue with it, but I'm going to tell you it goes on and on. It is a vicious and hideous process. We've had legislation in this body previously, at least in the General Assembly, where I have personally proposed that if we're going to kill the child, then we anesthetize the child at least. We at least give the child the benefit of relief from this horrible pain. This is the same type of process that was used as a punishment back in middle-aged England, where it's drawn, where people were drawn and quartered. They were tied up. They had their arms, their legs tied to horses. And then on signal, the horses were whipped, and the horses ran in different directions. This is what we're doing when we do these things to these children. So I don't look forward to discussing Roe versus Wade, but I will never forget the voices of the children. I did it once. And I will probably think back literally until the day that I die. And I will wonder if I had simply been conscious, if I had thought about what's happening in that hut nearby. Is there something that I could do? Maybe it's worth getting out of there, running through the gunfire, seeing if there's something that I could do. I didn't know, and I'm sorry. But I won't forget the children again. Thank you, Mr. President.